Now, jewelry as a trade is quite old. And the thing that's interesting about me in an old trade is that I have really no experience in jewelry because I was trained as a lawyer and as a diplomat. I had every intention on serving my government in the Foreign Service. And as a lawyer, I was hoping perhaps to even be part of the treaty-making process. Well, in my early 30s, I had an illness that prevented me from ever being able to serve the government, and I had to find something else to do. With my Ivy League education and fancy degrees, I started thinking about where I might go next. Hello, my name is Daniel Boettcher, and welcome to my podcast. My podcast is called Shine, Life Perspectives from a Bespoke Jeweler. It may seem odd that you would want to spend time understanding life perspectives from a bespoke jeweler, but I like to think that I come at life a little bit differently. I come at jewelry quite a bit differently, and I think when you listen to my podcast, you will understand what I mean. My first season of the podcast is called Facets of the Problem. Now, this seems like a clever title because, well, you facet gemstones and all of that, but you kind of wonder, why is a jeweler talking about problems? Well, the way I make jewelry is I understand that people have problems, and I can help them understand them, or maybe even help solve the problems using my tools, which are precious metals and gemstones. Now you might wonder again, well, okay, that's interesting, but what does that have to do with your life perspectives? Well, you see, when I design a piece of jewelry and make it truly bespoke, which means it's coming from me for a very specific purpose for a person, the construction starts with an interview. My jewelry starts not at a gem mine, not at a goldsmith bench. My jewelry starts in a conversation with my client, and I want to introduce you, the listener, to some of the conversations that I might have in my own office. It was February, and it was bitterly cold in Antwerp as the wind was coming off the North Sea. In an afternoon, we walked into a shop and bought a cigar, and, as they say, the rest is history. We were introduced to some new friends in a private club that was in that shop, and among the people I met was a jeweler. We spent the evening chatting together, and, well, the next day, I was learning about diamonds from someone who made his career buying and selling them. I went on from that moment realizing that there was going to be more to solving my own problem than just buying and selling diamonds. I got an education in gemology from the Gemological Institute of America, which I learned is no small task. In fact, it took me longer to get that diploma than it did to get my law degree. I learned the very best in design techniques, and the thing I learned most of all is that if you sit down and spend time with people, and as they say, take the cotton from your ears and put it in your mouth, you'll learn something. Now, my special talent is that what I learn, I can represent in fine jewelry. This podcast is going to be conducted in 10 interviews in 10 different cities, on 2 continents, and in Puerto Rico, an island in the Caribbean basin where I live. I will travel to the homes and offices of some very interesting people who you might like to hear from. Now, the people that I am going to chat with are people who look very good on paper. But what I'm actually going to ask them is how they've had a problem that they've solved outside of the workplace, and what did that solution offer them in terms of how they understand the world. Once I have that perspective in place, I will design a piece of jewelry that represents each of the conversations. And you, the listener, will get to learn about how to interview and understand, and how even that understanding can be turned into a piece of art that will outlast both me and my client. I look forward to this journey. I am sitting in my apartment this morning in San Juan, getting ready to start interviewing. And I'll check in from time to time because it's going to be an exhausting, yet what I hope is ultimately memorable and fulfilling to all of us, these conversations, the designs that come from the conversations, the joy that I love to share, and the Intrepid Wendell, which is my company, should be represented very well. Thank you for joining me, and we look forward to sharing our season with you.